Okay, so remember for tangent is the only function where you do half of the period on the left and half on the right of the y-axis. So the a value, it's not the amplitude, but it's the a value is 1 with the reflection because it's a negative 1. The period is 4 because you do pi over 4, it's 4. So half of 4 is 2. So you do asymptote here, asymptote here. That's one period. The next period would be here at 6. I know it's run out of room here, but that's 6 right there. And let me change colors. So the 0 for tangent is in the middle of the period, so that would be right here. And right here for the next period. The a positive a value usually goes 1/3 of the period, which would be right here. But because of the reflection, we're going to plot it right here. So it's going to go here, -1. And then the negative a usually goes 1/4 of the way, which would be right here. But because of the reflection, it goes up here. Okay? And so you connect the points. Oops. The iPad moved a little bit. There you go. And so you transfer this same shape over to the right side. So here at 3, it goes up to 3, 1. And at 5, it goes to 5, -1. And connect the points. Connect the points. Okay, so the period for this function is pi over 2 because it's pi over b. And so you take half of pi over 2, that's pi over 4. So you're going to label this as pi over 4. And so half of that would be pi over 8. So on the left side, negative pi over 8 and negative pi over 4. So the asymptotes would go here, half on the right and half on the left. Okay? So you count 4 sections over, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have another set right here. Okay, so let's finish labeling the x-axis. So we're counting by eighths. So 3/8, 4/8 is a half, 5/8, and 6/8 is 3/4. Okay, so the 0 is in the middle. Oh, I almost forgot. It goes down 1, right? So the horizontal axis would go like right here. Okay, so now when you do the 0 in the middle, it won't go on 0, 0, but it'll go right here on 0, -1, and pi over 2, -1, right there. Let me erase that scratch right there. This one, the positive a goes 3/4 of the way. So every 2 lines is 1, so a quarter would be half of a line, and so right here, halfway. So it's really curvy, that. And then at 5 pi over 8, you would have the a value go to positive 1/4, and at 3 pi over 8, you would have it go at -1/4. Again, it's really curvy here at the horizontal asymptote. And that's your 2 periods. Okay, so the a value is 3 and the period is 2 pi. So for cotangent, you started like you do all the other, the other 4 functions, sine, cosine, secant, cosecant, where you start on the y-axis. You count 4 tick marks over to the right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and you label that with the length of the period, 2 pi. So then that's pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. So the asymptote goes here and here. Okay, then you count 4 over to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there would be another one here. Okay, finish labeling the x-axis, so that would be 5 pi over 2, 6 pi over 2, which is 3 pi, 7 pi over 2, and then 8 pi over 2, which is 4 pi. Okay, in the middle we have the 0, the middle of the period, so that would be here at pi. 1/4 of the way is positive a, and there's no reflection here, so 1/4 of the way we're going to go up here, 3/4 of the way is negative a, and connect. So you copy this figure or this shape over to the right hand side. So the 3 pi is 0, the 5 pi over 2 is positive 3, 7 pi over 2 is negative 3, and connect your points. And that's it. That's your 2 periods. Okay, 147, the a value is 1/2. It's not an amplitude. Okay, it's just the a value. The period, and actually, so it's a vertical compression or shrink. Okay, period is pi because it's pi over b, and phase shift is pi over 2 to the right, because remember, if this is a minus, it's the opposite. It goes in the opposite direction. So we're going to go to 4 tick marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, label that pi, pi over 2, pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4. I'm just labeling 6 pi over 4 is 3/2. It's 3/2, and then 7 pi over 4. Okay, on the left side, negative pi over 4 and negative pi over 2. Okay, so normally the asymptote would go here and the other one will go here, but it's going pi over 2 to the right. So that means it's going 2 tick marks to the right. So from here to here. So that's where I'm going to draw them. Right here. And then right here. Okay? So I'm going to draw the first period right there. So in the middle I have the 0. So in the middle of the 2 yellow lines I have a 0 right there. And then for cotangent, the 1/4 of the way is the positive a, so that would be right here. And the 3/4 of the way, it's the negative a, so that would be right there. So it goes like this. Now I ran out of room on the right side, so I'm going to go to the left. So I'm going to count 4 tick marks over, 1, 2, 3, 4, and draw the other asymptote right there. And I'm just going to copy the figure. Okay, the middle would be the origin. The negative pi over 4 is the 1/2, and the positive pi over 4 is the negative 1/2. And then it goes down like that. So remember, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So we're thinking of the function for cosine of x, for cosine x. And so for cosine, we know it has the zeros 1/4 and 3/4 of the way. So right here and right here. It has a maximum at the beginning and the end of the period. It has a minimum in the middle of the period, so right here. Okay, so now wherever there's a 0, we're going to draw an asymptote. So at pi over 2, we have an asymptote, and 3 pi over 2. And so wherever you have the maximum, the graph goes up, the u's go up, and then wherever there's a minimum, the graphs go down. So remember, the only points that cosine and secant have in common are the maximum and minimum points. Okay, so that's one period. We're going to go ahead and draw another period. So let me label the x-axis, so 2 pi, so that's 5 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 6 pi over 2 is 3 pi, 7 pi over 2, and then 4 pi. Running out of room there, but it's 4 pi. The max, let me use the red again. The zeros are 1/4, 3/4 of the way, so that's going to be at 5 pi over 2 and 7 pi over 2. Maximum are beginning and end, so right here. Minimum is in the middle, so that's at 3 pi. Right here. So we know that wherever the graph is a 0, we're going to draw an asymptote and another asymptote. Whatever's maximum, so here at 2 pi we complete the u. Whatever's minimum, so at 3 pi it goes down, and then at 4 pi it goes up towards the asymptote like that. So there are 2 periods right there. So 151 is a cosecant function, so the reciprocal is sine. The period would be 2 pi over 2, which is pi. The a value is 1/4. So on the fourth mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to label that pi. Then that would be pi over 2. Half of that would be pi over 4. And so that makes this one 3 pi over 4. Okay. So for sine, the zeros are beginning, middle, and end. Maximum is 1/4 of the way, so it's going to be right here. Minimum is 3/4 of the way, so it's going to be right here. The a value is really small. So then that means wherever there's a 0, we draw an asymptote. Whoops. Another one right there, and another one right there. Wherever there's a maximum point, we draw the u going up. Wherever there's a minimum point, we draw the u going down. So now we finished labeling the x-axis. They're going by fourths, so 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, which is 3/2, 7 pi over 4, and 8 pi over 4, which is 2 pi. So the zeros are beginning, middle, and end of period. Maximum is 1/4 of the way. What's that? 1/4 right there. Minimum is 3/4 of the way, which would be at 7 pi over 4 right there. Asymptotes go wherever the sign has a 0, because the reciprocal of 0 is undefined. Okay, and now wherever there's a maximum, we draw the u going up. Wherever there's a minimum, we draw the u going down. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine. The a value is 1, the period is 2 pi, and the phase shift